verses. It is a fact that our sampradaya is not very old. It's only 500 years old. Actually it comes from Krishna from the beginning, but in the form of receiving from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago, right? So in 500 years, our sampradaya has seen more Sanskrit scholars, Bengali poets, more learned people than practically any sampradaya we know of in the compact amount of time. These are some of the finest poets, both in Sanskrit and Bengali, in the history of India, in the history of the world. And this is not just me speaking, but people who study history, academics and so on, recognize this fact. It's a very special tradition. So the poetry we've been given to sing, Gurvashtakam, Shad Goswami Ashtaka, this Gora Arti in the evenings, Tulasi Puja, these are not ordinary songs. They're not nursery rhymes. They're really something quite special. And so there's all the depth of meaning, all the advancement that we want is found right there in those verses. So I encourage you to go deeper into it, to chant every verse with meaning. And some years ago, I wrote this article on the meaning of the Gurvashtakam. So it should be in Vedabase. If you have the latest version of the Vedabase, you can look it up. But like that, you can read that and see, and then like that, you try to dig your own way through the verses. Means everyone should understand the basic meaning of each song we sing, and then also invest it with your own meaning. You should feel every verse as you sing it. What does it mean? You know, what is the realization that you get from each one of those verses? And you'll see that the same activity becomes twice as pleasurable. It becomes twice as amazing. You'll never get bored of spiritual life. Okay. So anyway, that was just something from that beautiful Gora Arti that we all did together. Okay, so back to the pronunciation here. Now, Sanskrit verses are these Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. They're all written in verse, and verse means something with a metrical pattern, with a meter. And a meter is essentially a meter is a pattern of long and short syllables that creates a certain rhythm. It creates a certain beat to it that gives a special feel to whatever you're reading. So in English, you have verses with meters. In Sanskrit, you have verses with meters. So we all know this intuitively. If you've heard the Brahma Samhita prayers, for example, then you know there's a certain rhythm to it that's very beautiful, right? Chintamani prakara sadma sukalpa vriksha laksha vriteshu surabhira vipalayantam lakshmi sahasra shata sambrama sevyamanam govindamani purusham tamaham bhajami. Now if you try doing that with Nam Namakari Bahudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tattva Tvita Niyamita Smaranena Kala. Now you try doing that with Trinadapi Suni Chena Taro. It doesn't work, right? There's something goes wrong. Or you try it with Janma Dyasayaton Bhayadi Tarata Shateshva Vidyaswarar. It doesn't work. You can't take anything and put it into that, right? We understand this intuitively. But there's a reason behind that, which is the basis of the pattern that's actually there in the Sanskrit. That pattern is composed of long and short syllables, or heavy and light syllables, okay? So in Sanskrit, these are called guru and lagu. Which one is heavy, guru or lagu? Guru, right? This is the meaning of the word guru, is heavy. And lagu is light or small. Okay, so guru and heavy and lagu. Now, what makes a syllable guru? A syllable is guru. Okay, first, what is a syllable? Okay, a syllable is any part of a word with a vowel in it. It makes a syllable. So, just like Rama, how many syllables? Two. Ra and Ma. Two vowels are there. A and A. Now this is why if you eat the at the end and say Ram, then you've got one syllable. So in a place where you need two, you only have one, the meter will be messed up. So Rama, 2 syllables. Krishna, 2 syllables. The ri is a syllable, kri, and Krishna. Shyama Sundara, Shyama Sundara, 5 syllables, right? So depending on the number of vowels, you can count all the vowels. And you have the list of 10 or more than 10. You count all the vowels and you get the number of syllables, okay? Now each syllable, each little cluster of consonants and vowels together, sha, ma, sun, da, ra, is either guru or laghu, depending on the type of syllable it is. So if it's guru, if it's any one of these things, it becomes guru. Okay, what makes something guru? First of all, if it has a long vowel to it, it becomes guru. What are the long vowels? A, I, U, Ri, E, I, O, Au. Okay? Practically all of them except for A, I, U, Ri, and U, which is rare. Besides them, they're all long. Okay? So if there's any long vowel, it becomes guru, heavy. Okay, so this is the conditions for being guru. A long vowel, or if the vowel is followed by a double consonant, a satsanga, a sangyuktaksha, a double consonant. Okay, so I'll give you an example in just a minute. Okay, a double consonant. And then the third instance is if that vowel is followed by an anuswara, an M dot, or an H dot. Okay, or these two special sounds, which are not quite consonants and not quite vowels. They're in their own category. It's like this sound or this sound. Then it becomes long or guru, heavy. Okay, so if any one of these 3 conditions are present, a long vowel or the vowel is followed by a double consonant. So the vowel could be short, but after it is a double consonant, or the vowel is followed by an anuswara or visarga, an or a, then it becomes guru. It becomes a heavy consonant. And otherwise, it's a laghu. If none of these are present, it's going to be laghu. Okay? So let me give you one word example and then I'll give you a longer example. With Krishna, 2 syllables. Krishna.
What about the half? Sure. आधा जो है षटकोण का जितना कृष्णा में, so you count that, or it's like 2.5?
Yes. So this is exactly what we'll see here. Okay. So Krishna, this is the first vowel is a r sound, right? Ri, this sound. Is it long or short? It's short, right? It's not ri, it's not Krishna, it's Krishna. Okay. It's short. So this condition is not satisfied. It's not a long vowel. But after the ri, there's 2 consonants, sha and na, right? The sha and the na, it's a double consonant. Therefore, this becomes guru. Okay, and we'll mark the guru as a long line. The next syllable is na. Okay, is it a short vowel or a long vowel?
Short vowel.
Short vowel. So not the first category isn't satisfied. Does it have a double consonant afterwards? No, we don't know what comes afterwards because I only put one word, so it's not a double consonant. Is it followed by or h there? No. So this one is going to be laghu. And we will mark laghu with that little U sign. Okay? Guru, laghu, like that. Okay? With Rama, you have a similar situation. Rama. The first syllable has a long vowel to it. Ra. Okay? So that's guru. This condition satisfied. The second syllable ma, it's not long, it's short, no double consonant afterwards, no or ha, so it's laghu. Now, if I were to put an H after it, Rama, like that, then it would become Guru. It would become long. Okay? So, Guru, Laghu. Now, in a Sanskrit verse, the pattern of Guru and Laghu syllables is predefined. And the poet has to fit the words that he or she wants to say into that pattern of long and short syllables. Okay? So every verse, Chinta Mani Prakarasat Masukal Pavriksha. What you're listening to there, this is the rhythm of long and short syllables. Chinta Mani, so you have two long and then two short. Chinta Mani, right? So actually two long, one short, and then one long. So there's a pattern like that for every type of verse that there is. Let me demonstrate here what the pattern is for this verse from Brahma Samhita. Okay? We're going to put this on the board and do a quick scanning, it's called. We're going to scan it for the different now. Maybe this will work. Okay, so first two lines. Chintamani prakarasadma sukalpa vriksha lakshavriteshu surabhir abhipalayantam. Surabhir, I think there's a long A.
The I has a long
Surabhir. Okay, so let's scan this for Guru and Laghu. Hopefully you've written it down somewhere because we had to flip the page. But the first syllable, Chint, is Guru or Laghu.
It's Laghu.
It has a short vowel, right? But what was the next condition? Double consonant. Is there a double consonant afterwards?
Yes.
Yes, you have an N and a T. So it is
Guru.
Guru. Okay, so let's mark it like that. Ta, Chinta. Ta is Guru or Laghu?
Guru.
Guru,
Long.
because it has a long vowel, right? Ma is Guru or Laghu?
Laghu.
Laghu. It has a short vowel. Is it followed by double consonant? No, it's got just a na.
It's Laghu.
So it's Laghu. Ni is
Laghu.
Guru or Laghu?
Laghu. Short.
It has a short vowel, yes? Is it followed by a double consonant?
No.
Yes. Pa and ra. Okay? So the word, next word doesn't matter. Okay? It can be the next word. This dash is just for convenience. Sanskrit doesn't have any dashes. So Chintamani, it is short vowel, but it's followed by a double consonant. P and R. Okay? So this is going to be Guru. Then prakara. Pra is Guru or Laghu?
Pra has to be Laghu.
Is what?
Short.
Short, right?
Laghu.
And what follows it? What's before it makes no difference. What follows it? Double or single consonant?
Single.
Single. So it's got to be Laghu. Ka,
That's Laghu also.
Laghu. Ra,
Laghu.
Laghu. Sad,
That's
Guru.
because the D and M.
short A, but double consonant afterwards, right? Sad. Ma is
Short.
Laghu, short. Su is
Laghu.
Laghu. Ka is Guru, because there's a double consonant, la and pa. Pa is?
No, that's guru again. Vriksha.
Okay,
Guru.
so this is the real test. Who thinks it's laghu?
Oh, wait a minute. That re is a
No
vowel.
trying to commit it.
That's I think it's a laghu because the re is a vowel. Yeah.
So, is it a long or short vowel?
Sure.
Short vowel. Okay, so that condition. Then is it followed by a single consonant or double?
Single.
Single. It has the V and the R with the dot is a vowel. Ri. Okay? Ri. We went through the alphabet pretty quickly, but Ri is, there's a consonant Ra. There's a consonant Vyanjan Ra. But there is a vowel Swara, which is also a V, and that's R with a dot. Okay, like Krishna. So this is a vowel, that's a single consonant. So this is Laghu. Then Vri is
That's guru.
Guru, because you have Ka and Sha. Sha. Guru. And this one? Laghu. The last one of the line doesn't really matter, okay? Because you pause at the end of the line anyway, so it makes a little difference. Okay. Now, next one, they should go a little faster, okay? We made a pattern here. Dun, 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 dun. Okay? Then, this one, first one, Guru, La, because it's got the double, Ksha, A, Laksha, Guru, Vri is Laghu, Te is Guru. Remember, A is always long. Okay? Te. Shu is Laghu. Okay. Next one. Okay, so some of you are doing this too fast, which means you've discovered that the top and the bottom are going to be the same. Okay. So I'm not going to waste your time here, but if you were to do this, well, we can just do it real quick. So, the, P. That's why that long I was crucial. I was debating, is it long or short? If it were short, then it would be laghu, right? And the whole thing would be messed up, the pattern. Is short. This is crucial, okay? Is short. It's a short vowel. It's laghu. But is it followed by a single consonant or two?
No, it's
Followed by a single consonant. In English, we have to write it as a BH. But remember your list of alphabets on page 2 and 3. Pa is one letter. Pa, pa, ba, pa. Okay? This is, there's a whole theology based on the pa's, you know, the pa varga, pa, 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 pa. Scriptures say that this pa, pa, ba, pa represents our condition in the material world. Pa is you start with parishram, working very hard. As you work very hard, it produces pena, foam in the mouth. Right? Work too hard. So animals do this, pena. Then ba, that causes bondage, bandhan. And then that bondage leads to pa, pa, ba, ha, bhaya, fear. And then pa, pa, ba, pa, ma. It leads then to mrityu, marana. Right? So this is pa varga. Our condition in this world is pa, pa, ba, pa. This is called pa varga. Varga means the row of pas. Pa varga. Therefore, liberation in Sanskrit is called apavarga. The denial of the pa letters. Okay? So the alphabet itself is full of meaning. So dharmasya pavargasya. There's a verse in Bhagavatam that dharma is meant for apavarga. It's meant to release us from all the pas in this world. Okay? So abha is a single letter. Abhi. Oops, I forgot that. Pa, la, yan, tam. Okay, and then it doesn't really matter. Okay. Now notice the pattern here. Long, long, short, long, 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 short, long, short, 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 short. It's identical. In fact, if we did this for all 4 lines, the pattern would be exactly the same. This pattern of syllables has a specific name for it. This metrical pattern in Sanskrit is called Vasanta Tilaka. Vasanta means spring, Tilaka means ornament, decoration. So it's the ornament of spring. And for the poet, it has a specific quality to it. you notice this has this
Musical.
pattern has a very light and airy and spring-like feel to it. Alola Chandra Kala Sadvana Malya Vamshi Ratnangadam Pranaya Keli Kala Vilasam Shyamam Tribhanga Lalita Niyata Prakasham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajani Govindam. You can sing it so nicely, right? It has very flowing feel to it. Another very common meter that we use is called Shardula Vikriditam, which means the play of a tiger. Shardula is a tiger, Vikriditam means play. And this is another common one that we use for things like Shad Goswami Ashtika, for the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishnot Kirtana Gana Nartana Paro Premamritam Bho Nidhi Dhira Dhira Jana Priyo Priyakaro Nirmatsaro Pujito. You hear the tiger playing? It's playful. It's definitely very light, but it has a very heavy step to it. Like someone very powerful is playing. It's not a bird flitting around. It's a tiger. Janmadyasya yaton vayaditaratas charteshva bhignya swara. You can dance to it. And it's got a set number of syllables, right? Each one has a set number of syllables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 per line. That one has more syllables to it. Krishnot Kirtana Gana Nartana Paro. How much was that? Less. 12 syllables. No, it doesn't.
You haven't finished the line yet.
It didn't finish that.
Premamritam Bho.
Premam Ritam Bho Nidhi. That's 19. 19?
Yeah.
So 19 syllables, much longer meter, and a different kind of feel to it, different rhythm to it. So you'll find often in Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, when the mood changes of the speaker, the poet, then the metrical pattern also changes. In Bhagavad Gita, when does the metrical pattern change? You have a very short meter. Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yuyutsavaha, Mamaka, Pandavascheva, Kimakurvata Sanjaya. Simple, short. When does it become longer? One of the places is the 11th chapter, right? 11th chapter. Does the mood change? What happens there?
Universal form.
Universal form. It's a big mood shift, right? So it's very clear that that mood is being signaled by both Sanjay and Arjun by longer meters, because the short meters cannot contain the mood that he's portraying. You know, Deva Deva Jagatpate, and this is more brilliant than 10,000 suns. It's just not, you can't contain it in that short meter, so it's signaled with a longer meter. There's another place in Gita where it switches to a longer meter.
15 chapters.
Yes, 15 chapter. Where's the first place it switches though? You remember?
It's pretty early.
First time it changes in Bhagavad Gita, the metrical pattern. Chapter 2.
7,
Yeah.
It changes, becomes
So
a
it
disciple.
actually, I think it changes maybe a verse or two before that. But basically, that's the point where Arjuna's grief is really reaching a breaking point. And that's when he's realizing he has to do something. So that beautiful verse where he surrenders to Krishna. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhava prichhami tvam dharma samudha cheta yat shreyasya nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. It's a meter called Trishtub is the general category. And it's a different metrical pattern that signals Arjuna's real angst and his desire to surrender to the Lord. So a change in metrical pattern is always signaling something significant happening in the verses, in the meters. If you get to the Gopi Gita, for example, that's a very, very special section of Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam rolls out a special meter that is not found anywhere before that. It's the Raja Hamsi meter. Raja means king, Hamsi means swan. It's the king of swans, Raja Hamsi. And it has that famous, Bhakti Charu Maharaj sings it in that beautiful melody. Tavakathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhiritam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvi Grinantiye Bhurida Jana Can you see the swan moving? This is how swans move. It's left, right, and slow, nice and slow. It's not a fast dancing meter like the Shardula Vikrita is. One of my favorite meters is called Manda Kranta. And Manda Kranta is a very long and slow and beautiful meter. Manda means slow, Kranta means walking. So the meter means ambling along. And it's kind of like the way a river flows, just slow, slow. And then occasionally it'll go just a little fast as it goes down a couple of rocks, and then it'll go slow again, Manda Kranta. And this is King Kulashekara uses it in his Mukundamala a couple of times. Here's an example. Naham vande tava charanayor dvandvamadvandvaheto. Naham vande tava charanayor dvandvamadvandvaheto. Kumbhi pakam gurumapi hare narakam napanetam. Kumbhi pakam gurumapi hare narakam napanetum. Ramya Rama mridutanu nandane pirantum. Ramya Rama mridutanu nandane pirantum. Bhave bhave hridaya bhavane bhavayeyam bhavantam. Bhave bhave hridaya bhavane bhavayeyam bhavantam.
Nectar Instruction has one of these as well. Nectar Instruction has one of these long ones.
So the beauty of the Manda Kranta is a beautiful meter. Its beauty is the first four syllables are very nice and long. Naham Vande, four long syllables. Naham Vande, then a series of short ones. Tava Charanayor, Dvandvamadvandvaheto, then it goes slow again. Kumbhi Pakam Gurumapi Hare Narakam Napanetum. Like that. Beautiful, beautiful verses. Maharaj Kulashekara is praying to Krishna that I'm not worshipping your lotus feet for liberation, nor for enjoyment in the heavenly planets, nor for the enjoyment with beautiful women from heaven. None of that I'm interested in. Bhave, bhave, hridaya bhavane, bhavayeyam bhavantam. This verse is extraordinary. He's using every word except for one in that last line. All comes from the same verb in Sanskrit, bhu or bhavati, which means to be. Bhave, bhave, hridaya bhavane, bhavayeyam bhavantam. And they each mean something different. Bhave, bhave, birth after birth. Hridaya bhavane, in the palace of my heart, bhavane. Bhavayeyam bhavantam. May you, bhavantam, bhavayeyam, always stay. Right? And he uses the same word to capture those different meanings. Bhave, bhave, hridaya. Gorgeous, gorgeous, beautiful verse. And it's in this meter, Manda Kranta. So there are maybe a dozen meters that are frequently used in Sanskrit, not more than that. Beyond that, there are hundreds of such meters, but most of them are very rarely seen. The ones that we encounter, probably even less than a dozen. I would say about half a dozen that we get regularly. And if you're able to recognize what the meter is, and you learn just one melody per meter, then you can recite any verse that there is to recite. Okay? Look in your handout to so on the top of the handout, the front side, it says Appendix 3. Appendix 3, classical meters. It's like the third sheet of paper, no, more than that.
Page 311.
Yeah, fifth sheet of paper, it says Appendix 3 on the left side, page 311 on the right side. You found it? Okay, so we did the Guru, Lagu, Lagu, Guru, we did that, right? So here are the patterns for each one of them, the most well-known ones. Let's see. Vasanta Tilaka. So on the right side of the page, if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth one down, you will see Vasanta Tilaka. You see it? Found it? On the right hand side of the page, count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. You will see Vasanta Tilaka is listed. You see that pattern. Now compare the pattern to what we wrote on the board. Right? It should be the same thing. 2 longs, 1 short, long, short, 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 long, short, short, long, like that. Same pattern, exactly. The Shardura Vikriditam is the second from the last at the bottom. The play of the tiger, Krishno Kirtanagana Tanaparo. There's your meter. Short, 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 like that. 19 syllables, yes. 12 plus 7. And then my favorite, Manda Kranta, is the one right above that. You see the 4 long ones? Naham Bande, those are your 4 long ones. Tava Charanayor, that's your 5 short ones followed by 1 long one. And that's what gives it its really nice rhythm. Then you can have many of these other ones we're also familiar with. There's the Bhagavad Gita ones, Karpanya Dosho Pahata Swabhava, the longer ones in Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
So this is Indra Vajra and Upendra Vajra on the left hand side of the page down at the bottom. Indra Vajra sometimes and sometimes Upendra Vajra. They're very similar. Indra and Upendra. Upendra is the little brother of Indra. So they're very similar. Okay. So those are the longer ones.
And the regular ones too?
The shorter ones.
Yeah, so that's the main one, okay? And the main one is the one we will spend the most time on and get the most practice with, because that's the one we run into most often. The standard one in Bhagavad Gita. And in and of itself, if we can just learn how to pronounce that smoothly, we're doing very well, okay? So we'll get to the short one. That's called Anushtub, and that's the top one, number 1 on the left-hand side. We'll get to that one in just a couple of minutes. So it's the simplest in some sense, and another way, it's the most complicated because it's very open, it's variable. But first of all, these are the ones on the right-hand side. Those you should be, you'll know a few of them. There's that one also, Kadachit Kalindi Tata Vipinas, like that. So that one, Kadachit Kalindi, is, where did it go? Okay. Well, let me ask you. Can you identify what meter that is, or maybe that's too much to ask? But look at the first. Just do the first word. Kadachit. Kadachit Kalit. Kadachit is what? Just scan that. That word. Kadachit. First syllable ka. The first syllable ka is guru or laghu. Okay, laghu.
Vamsashta.
Kadachit. Okay, so ka is laghu, da is guru, chit is, it's followed by K. So T and K, kadachit, K, right? So it is guru. So it's laghu, guru, guru is the start. That should already identify. Shikharini. Shikharini. Okay? Shikharini. Kadachit kalindi tata vipina sangita. And it's, yeah. So that one is kada. There's also the one from Brahma Samhita. What is it? Every step is a dance, every word is a song.
Katha Ganam Natyam
Yeah.
Ganam.
Which one is
How
that?
do you start?
I think it's also Shikharini. Katha Ganam Natya. Also Shikharini. In the Shikshashtaka, you have different meters for many of the verses.
Yeah. Change it.
So this is what makes chanting the Shikshashtaka such a challenge, because it's difficult to use one melody to sing it. Now, one thing to note is that melody is different from the meter. Okay, so I sang this one. We all sing it in this melody. Chintamani prakara sadma shukalpa vriksha. But you don't have to sing it in this melody, right? You can also do Chintamani prakara sadma sukalpa vriksha laksha vriteshu surabhira vibalayantam Lakshmi sahasra shata sambrama sevyamanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Right? It's a different meter. It has the same. Sorry, it's the same meter. It has a different melody to it. This Krishna kirtana gana nartana paro premamritambo nidhi shardula vikriditam. We always sing it. Right? But you can sing it in a different melody, so long as you keep the same rhythm, the same meter. So just today, Madan Gopal Prabhu was singing in a different
Melody.
what was the melody?
Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajesh. Sing it.
The same. Aradhyo Bhagavan Rajesh Tanaya Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachidupasana Vrajavadhu Varjenaya Kalpita.
So that sounds so different, right? And yet you can do that same thing and go Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam. See, so that I used the same melody for that one, and he used a completely different melody for it. Okay, so you're welcome to innovate with melody if you are musical. If you're like me, who is not at all musical, and I have great trouble remembering any tunes, even for the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, then you find one melody that works per meter. You have one for Brahma Samhita. That everyone should know. It's pretty simple. Chintamani prakara sadma sukalpa vriksha. I know that melody, right? So whenever I find a verse in Bhagavatam or anywhere that's this meter, this pattern, like that, then I just use that melody. I sing it like Brahma Samhita. And Krishna Kirtana Gananat, Krishna Kirtana Gananartana Paro. So common. Whenever I find a verse of that meter, Shardula Vikridatam, just use that. And it will fit. It will fit. If it's not fitting, when you try to sing it and you're stumbling and it's not fitting, is because you're pronouncing something wrong. You're eating up a syllable or you're adding a syllable where it shouldn't be. So go back to the verse and read it one syllable at a time. Chintamani prakarasa. And you'll realize, oh, I'm doing prakar sadmasu, and I'm eating the at the end of prakara. Okay, that's what I'm. Then it'll work. It will always work, because no exceptions are allowed. Actually, exceptions occasionally happen, and you'll notice it immediately, right? Something will be wrong. But it happens rarely enough that if you find an exception, it's probably because you've mispronounced it, not because it was an exception. Okay? So learn one melody for one type of verse and just use it, right? If for the Karpanya Dosho Pahata Swabhava type, that length, Indra Vajra, Upendra Vajra, if you find any verse, that's the second most common type, is Karpanya Dosho Pahata Swabhava Prichhami Tvam Dharma Samudache. That's the second most common type of verse. Then you find that a verse of that style, learn one melody for it, and use it all the time, and it'll always work. The reason it'll always work is because this is so precisely defined. The poet has no freedom for how to use, for what to do with these syllables. It's actually really, really tough to write Sanskrit poetry for this reason. Because whatever you want to say, I mean, look at this. Imagine if you want to say something and you come up with the words, you got to stick it into this somewhere. Okay? So, for example, we've got this meter here. And if you wanted to say you wanted to write a verse about Shyama Sundara. Okay? Whoops, ran out of space. Say you wanted to write a verse about Shyama Sundara. let's scan Shyama Sundara really quick. What's the pattern you have here? Say you're from Central Jersey and you worship Radha Shyam Sundar and you want to write a beautiful verse for them. Okay? So you set out and you say Shyama Sundar is going to be there. So now Sha is Guru, Ma is Lagu, Sund is Guru, Da is Lagu, and Ra is Lagu. Okay? So you have a pattern of long, short, short. And you wanted to sing it like Brahma Samhita. So you wanted this metrical pattern. Where could you put the word Shyama Sundara in your verse? Could you start the verse with Shyama Sundara? No.
Oh, wait, not even
It won't work, right? You need long and short. You have long and long here. Where would you put it? Long, short, and you've just run out of syllables. So it wouldn't work here. You'd get Shyama Sunda, and then you couldn't say Ra. Where could you put it?
just the money. Money of Chintamani.
So Guru, Lagu, Lagu. There you go. So this right here,
That's your opportunity. Yam Shama.
okay, there. That's the only spot in the verse where the word Shyama Sundara can go. Now, what's worse is you've got one syllable you got to do something with, right, at the beginning. Yeah. So do He, right? He Shyama Sundara Hare Raja Chitta Chaura, right? So you can get it, but you have to work at it, right? It's really tough. Now say you're from Boise, Idaho, and you wanted to write a verse on Banke Bihari. Banke Bihari. Where would you put it?
Second line.
You could put it.
Lakshawati.
So there's a couple places where you could put it, right? Now look at this pattern here, okay? And look at, what if I wanted to write the verse in Mandakranta? Where would I put it? My favorite meter and my favorite deities. Okay? So my favorite meter is Mandakranta, my favorite deities are Radha, Banke Bihari, and Boise. So I wanted to do it.
No can do.
Where would I put it?
Sorry.
You can't, right?
Possible can.
There's no place in that verse I can do Banke Bihari. So if I started a verse on Banke Bihari and then I come to the end of the line and go, I can't put Banke Bihari in the verse, right? I'm stuck. Right?
Move to
It's
central
tough. It's tough. And when we learn about Sandhi and word forms, you realize that words like Shyama Sundara will change. The last syllable will change. Shyama Sundarasya or Shyama Sundaraya. Like Krishnaya Namaha, Shyama Sundaraya Namaha. Okay? Say I want to say that. Shyama Sundaraya Namaha. Then Shyama Sundaraya. It becomes long, short, long, short, long, short. Where can I put that? Nowhere in this verse. If I want to say Shyama Sundaraya Namaha, I cannot do it here in this verse. Right? In other words, it is really tough to compose anything in a Sanskrit meter because you get what you want to say and it won't fit in the meter, and you get the meter you want and you can't fit your words into it. So which do you use? I was going to write about Shyama Sundara, but he doesn't fit in the meter. So forget him. Let's try some other deity, right? Do you do that?
No.
Or do you say, I got to do Shyama Sundara, so let's find another meter?
Yeah.
In which case you have to change the mood of what you're writing. It's difficult. But the expert poet can pull it off. The expert poet can say exactly what they want to say in exactly the meter that they want to do. But it takes a lot of work. My Sanskrit teacher in Oxford, in England, Professor Narasimhachari, he received the title of Ashu Kavishekara, which means he who could write verses extempore, on the spot. So he could take a meter like this, and I would tell him, sometimes I would go up to him and say, today is Srila Prabhupada's disappearance day, and we're holding a little meal in honor of him. Can you please create some verses? And he would say, okay, give me 5 minutes. And 5 minutes later, he would come into the room with a beautiful ashtaka on Srila Prabhupada, 8 verses in a special meter describing him, glorifying him. One time I made some photocopies for him for a seminar, and when I gave him the photocopies, he thanked me in a beautiful Sanskrit verse. He could do this. And I asked him once, I said, what do you do first? Do you think of the meter first and then come up with what you want to say? Or do you think of what you want to say and then find a meter to fit it together? And he said, nah, Ravi, it doesn't work like this. He says, the words just come to you within a meter already set. Means the metrical patterns become so part of your system that you just think and talk, you hear your ideas in a metrical pattern, in a verse. And he was so good at this. He spent several months in Oxford. Twice he came, and on each occasion he was really moved by the devotees and their practice of Krishna consciousness, especially the younger people. He said, back home in India, we struggled to get the young people interested in Krishna. And the amazing thing about Srila Prabhupada, who he encountered for the first time when studying, when he visited Oxford, the amazing thing about Prabhupada is that he was able to inspire all of these young people to take to Krishna consciousness. And so without telling anyone, he picked out Prabhupada's biography from our library, and he read all 7 volumes of it, and was so deeply moved. Afterwards, I didn't know he was reading it. He came to me to tell me that he was doing this. And he said, I'm so moved by Prabhupada's accomplishments and what he did, that before I leave Oxford this time, I'm going to write 100 verses on Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada's Shatakam, 100 verses. And I was so excited and really happy. And I would go to him every week for our regular meetings, and I would say, so how many verses did you write? And he said, no, I didn't get around to it. And next week, how many verses? No, I didn't get around to it. And I thought, oh no, I hope it's not one of these Indian things where, yes, I'll do, and then it never happens, But he said, look, don't worry. I told you I would do it. I would do it. One day, a few weeks before he left, he came to me really happy one morning. And he said, it was amazing. Last night I got inspiration, and I sat down and I wrote 60 verses all in one go. And he said, I only have now 40 left, and I'll write those gradually. It was from that experience I realized that, if you have any doubts that, how could the Bhagavad Gita be spoken as a conversation? It's a conversation, but it looks like it's pre-planned. Someone sat there and thought about it. But Krishna and Arjuna were speaking like this. Or how could the sages, Maitreya Muni and Vidura, be speaking in these long, beautiful meters? You could see it. Even someone, he's now passed away, but he was living at that time, and he had that ability to create and write verses like that extempore. I'll give you one little story also about him, final, and I know we have to end at 8:30. But he said, one of his titles, besides Ashu Kabishekara, was the title of Ashtavadhani, 8, one who can do 8 things at once, Ashtavadhani. Now, you've heard of people who can play 8 chess games or 10 chess games or 100 chess games at the same time, multitasking. But this was a different type of Ashtavadhani, okay? Basically, it was a Sanskrit version of it. 8 Sanskrit scholars would sit around you in a circle, and he, the student who was being tested, would sit in the middle. And the first Sanskrit Pandit would say, give me a verse describing Lord Ramachandra in Vasanta Tilaka meter. So he has to compose. But give me only 1 syllable at a time. So he gives one syllable. Now the Pandit, he tries to guess what the next syllable will be and forbids that syllable, right? So if he goes first syllable, Ra, what's the next syllable going to be? Ma, okay? So he says Ma Nishiddha. Ma is forbidden. So whatever you composed in your head, you have to now recompose. Raja, okay, Raja, got that. Then next syllable. And like this, you have to do after the end of one line, as the teacher is constantly trying to trip you up. When you've got one line through, he says, okay, stop, that's enough. Then you go to the next person. The next person says, I want you to read from the Akasha Purana, the story of Nala and Damayanti. Now, the Akasha Purana is a way of saying, there's no Akasha Purana. The Purana in the sky is just recite the story from your head in your own verses. Create those verses, but do it so fast that it looks like you're reading. So, Asid Raja Nalo Nama Virasena Sutobali. There was a king named Nala and so on, and he was a great, powerful king. Okay, after that's few verses of that, okay, enough. Then you go to the third person. The third person will compose a verse about the beauty of the autumn season on the Chennai beach, Madras beach or whatever. So, fourth one will talk to you in Sanskrit about local politics. The fifth one, like this, you'll go around, and when you come around to the first one, you have to remember where you were in that verse, what the second line, which letters were forbidden, etc., etc. The Akasha Purana, you have to continue exactly where you left off. The Pandit who's quizzing you is only remembering one thing, so he knows exactly where you left off, right? You're remembering 8. That's 7 around you. The 8th person is sitting behind you, throwing flowers at your neck. And you have to count how many flowers hit you as you're doing all of this. Okay. This goes on for hours, and if you can accomplish it, then you receive the title of Ashtavadhani, one who can do 8 things at once. He accomplished this when he was 17 years old. I told him, this is amazing. You're such an amazing scholar and Sanskrit. I've never met anyone like you. And he used to say, no, Ravi, you should have seen my guru. This is nothing. He said, when I used to go to meet my guru, we would go to study some Shastra, say he wants to study Vedartha Sangraha by Ramanuja. So his guru would say, okay, what do you want to study today? And he said, I want to study Vedartha Sangraha. And he would say, okay, you have a copy of the book? And he said, yes. He said, give it to me. And he would take the copy and he would flip through it while taught, how's your mother, how's your father, how are you all doing? And keep flipping through it. Then hand the book back to him and read and teach it word for word from memory. He had the entire book memorized. He just needed to refresh his memory a little bit. He said he had all the major texts of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. He was part of the Sri Vaishnava tradition, all memorized like that. So when we hear stories in the scriptures of Shruti Dhara, of great sages who could recite this from memory, there was the great sage Vedanta Deshika. He wrote Paduka Sahasri. He wrote 1,000 verses in glorification of Lord Vishnu's sandals, his chappals, Paduka. 1,000 verses glorifying just the Lord's slippers. He did it in one night, right? One night. You hear all these stories. I assure you, they're not mythology. They're not myth, right? Such people have existed even up to recently. I mean, I don't know how many are left in India today, but the generation's quickly passing. But such persons exist. And so reciting Bhagavad Gita in conversation was child's play for Krishna and Arjuna. It's actually very, very simple for them at that level. Or any of the gopis singing the Gopi Gita, they didn't sit for hours trying to compose, okay, this one here goes here, tava, katham. None of that. It's just, it flows, right? It just comes. These are great. The gopis may be simple devotees, but they're so learned, so knowledgeable in our comparison. Okay? So our plan for tomorrow is going to be, tomorrow's session is going to be the most practical of all of them. Okay? What we're going to do is look at the basic meter of Anushtup and we're going to go around the room, and whoever's here and wants to, we'll practice reciting those verses. I will listen to your recitation, give you suggestions for how to improve or where things can get better, so that you get some practical experience reciting these verses and develop a little bit of confidence in understanding them. These short ones and then some of the longer ones as well. And you'll get an opportunity to do this as a group, and then I'll break you up into smaller groups and you can test each other in terms of recitation, okay? Even if we think we know how to recite these, you'll be surprised at how many little things get tripped up so quickly. So tomorrow we're gonna do that in a very practical way. For this, today I wanted to show you how the meters work and give you some general tips. Tomorrow we're gonna practice, and if there's time left, we'll do some other things with the Sanskrit language as well that will be helpful for your study, okay? Tomorrow is 3 to 5 o'clock, 2 hours tomorrow, and then we've got the Sunday Peace class. The Sunday Peace class is going to be separate. So, okay? Thank you all very much.